Episode 6, You're Fired, with Vic Henley.
I call it Black Donald's. That's my favorite McDonald's in the city is Black Donald's.
The Mad Cuban, Chef Carl Ruiz.
I'm like exotic. I'm like a fat unicorn.
And a radio legend who's having more fun than he's had since he was fired.
Run, Forrest, run!
Opie.
First of all, I want to say I'm going to cry because I'm in a real studio for the first time in almost a year. Vic Henley and Carl. How does this feel to be in a real studio?
Feels like we have like a real job like we used to before you messed everything up. Right.
Wow, I'm laughing.
Before someone decided to illegally film in the bathroom, like everyone knows in America you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
But, no, this feels like actually something creative might be happening.
It's pretty, well, we'll have to wait and see on that.
Chris has got to carry us.
I ain't carrying nothing. You want to tell you right now.
We got to say hi to Chris Vos from the record company. One of my favorites. I'm telling you, one of my favorite people in the music business, and one of my favorite bands out there right now. And we're thrilled to be here to talk to Chris Vos. I was thrilled to have your people reach out to me and go, "Whoa, Ope's back. He's doing a podcast. The guys want to, come on and say hi."
Yeah, man. Well, you've been a supporter of us right from the get-go, so that means a lot to me, man. I'm old school. I come from Wisconsin, farm family. You know, we appreciate that shit.
And you don't forget.
Hell no. I'm also half Italian. We don't forget.
No kidding.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Hey, Carl, how many people forgot over the years?
I was keeping a tally, everybody.
I think you're the only one. Yes, I think you're the only one.
Literally, Chris is the only one.
You're the only one. You sure you want to do this?
I want to do this.
I'm starting to think it might be me.
No, it's all good, man.
I was telling Vic the story in the car. This is how sad my life is, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it. We were podcasting in my car on the way down for this interview.
Oh, man.
And I was telling the story that you reached out to me or your people about Rita Mae Young, the video. You guys did a special video for that song, and your guys said, "Hey, man, they want you to release it on your YouTube channel."
Yeah,
I never forgot that.
No, that was amazing that you did that for us. We appreciated that.
And it was the hula hoop girl.
Yes, Katie Sunshine,
right.
Man. Best hooper in the world, man. She's unbelievable. You know how we got her on that video? She tagged herself on Instagram. We were talking about okay, we got to do a video, and she tagged herself doing this hula hoop thing. And I was like, we're driving, and the guys are like, "What should we do for this video?" And I turned the phone around. I'm like, just let her film the video. That would be better than anything we can do. She's so good. And we just called her up. We're like, "Hey,
yeah."
No, I guess you didn't call her up, but you shoot her a line on the thing.
Sure.
Like, "Hey, you like the song?" "Yeah, I like the song." "You want to do the video for a song?" "Sure." So we sent a guy down there. She picked out a spot right in front of her favorite lake in Arkansas, and she hooped it up. She looked amazing.
Oh, so sexy.
She's such a my ma's like, "Oh, she's very talented. She's amazing." Man. She's amazing.
Because it's sexy. It's not slutty. It's
not
sexy. It's completely
it's
amazingly
It's just really talented.
I understand there's some talent there, but the sexiness doesn't hurt.
It's super sexy. Well, I don't know what's better, the song or the girl.
Right. I would go with the girl.
I'm going to go with the song.
I'm Latin. I mean,
okay.
She looks like she does the weather on Channel 41.
A shot of reality from you. Yes, of course. But we were talking about that. There's a difference between sexy and slutty. I'm a fan of sexy.
Everybody is. It's very old school.
I don't know if everyone is.
Well, in these days, what are you, Chris? Are you skanky or sexy?
I like the sexy, man.
Everybody,
right? Exactly. Be sexy. But I mean, because I'm so freaking old school in so many ways. My musical tastes are from another era. My taste and all that stuff. I mean, I find all the more old school, seductive ways a little more charming and cool. I mean, I don't know if that's just because I'm some sort of I don't know. Whatever, born in the wrong century or something.
You're a good old Wisconsin boy.
I am. I'm from Wisconsin. If it gets too raw for me, I mean, I'm liable to have a heart attack. So, I've been with
this. Too much cheese in this.
Yeah, man. My arteries. You come out with clogged arteries where I grew up. So, but yeah, no, it's. I like the. If I had to pick between the two, sexy is definitely a lot more appealing to me.
With some clothes still on.
She's wearing cutoff jeans. I think.
I'm talking just women in general. Now. Like
absolutely. Not what we just saw walking down the street here. He and I were dragging ourselves over here, and this girl's walking down the street, and she's got on a white linen shirt with nothing on underneath it.
Whoa.
And she might as well be naked.
As it should be. The hell is this? Is this a Mormon podcast?
No.
Carl is fired up for the big record company interview.
Record company talk.
We got Chris. The other two guys, they're up there
Alex
somewhere talking to other people more important.
Out there. There's some other stuff happening today, so they had to lock that all down. But I was like, I'm gonna come over here and do this thing.
Yes.
Like I said to Opie, I'm the only one that talks anyway. So
yes,
the other guys, unless you can amplify staring into a microphone, which I don't think.
Put it on 20. He still ain't saying shit.
Being a radio,
you actually said you're the one with the most personality.
I have some personality.
Oh no, Chris is the man. Being a radio guy, I got to say, like these bands, they start splitting up the members. You know your status depending on which member they sent you.
We got Ace High here.
Well,
today.
we got Ace High. Yeah, I love Alex and Mark, and they certainly, all kidding aside, have given us some good stuff over the years.
They're great.
But getting Chris, I'm like, okay, good. But I still rate. Thank you.
Let's hope Chris doesn't use that on us.
True, Carl.
Oh man,
well said.
Yeah, I got to ask you about the cheese thing in Wisconsin for real. How much cheese do you guys really
Lots.
eat?
It's delicious, Opie.
But I mean, there are stereotypes that exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And like, I grew up on a dairy farm, so if there is any Wisconsinite listening, be like, come on, man, don't go down that cheese road. It's like, man, I grew up on that shit. So it's like, yeah, it's a deal.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, we're not really into the sophisticated cheeses. You understand? Like, when I moved to California, I found out about all these cheeses that I didn't know existed.
Right.
We're like putting cheddar on stuff, and then we're finding a way to keep cheddar at liquid form at room temperature.
Yes.
Which I had a friend a long time ago say, never trust any cheese that stays liquid at room temperature. But I don't know. I've gone against that many times.
Now I got to go to Carl. Is it a myth, the cheeses? Like a good solid basic cheese from Wisconsin, will that compete with any cheese in the world?
Here's the problem with really high-end cheeses is just like sugar attracts a fly, these attract assholes. Right? so as good as this cheese could be, the person and the place you have to eat it in is awful. It's like a chemotherapy clinic. It's just you just want to die in there. It's awful. So Wisconsin, they do something that's called cheese curds.
Oh yeah, man.
And they melt the cheese curds on top of French fries, and they eat it all day.
Yeah,
and they don't stop.
Cheese curds are weird cheese because they're like, you eat them the day it's like they're real fresh, like new, and like when you eat them, if they're good, they squeak. Yeah. They actually squeak.
I was about to interrupt as I often do.
How do you know that, Vic?
No, because they do. Because
he knows everything about everything.
Bubble and squeak.
It squeaks, man.
Thank you, Nick.
If you're ever in Wisconsin and you eat a fresh cheese curd, it blows the doors off a lot of cheeses.
Yeah, man.
A lot of cheese.
You know, when I travel, I mean, Vic, because you were just talking about how you've been traveling comedy 30 years, and I know it's not my place to be asking questions, but I figured I'd toss this out.
Certainly.
You don't mind? All right. One thing I do when we travel is I like to, the one thing that is still good in the United States is you still can get regional. There still is regional shit.
Hell yeah.
Like
cuisine.
Yeah, cuisine. That's the word. There's regional cuisine. Like, like if I'm in the Carolinas, I'm gonna try the pulled pork with the
absolutely the vinegar or the other one. Depends on if you're in East Carolina or West Carolina.
You go down to Texas or Oklahoma, you got to get the brisket.
Absolutely.
If you dare put any sauce on that, they're gonna chop your arm off. Right. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's like, you go to Chicago, you got to have a Chicago dog. You got to have some Italian beef. You go up to Wisconsin, you got to have some cheese and brats, man.
You go to Baltimore, you got to get the Chaps Pit beef. You ever had the pit beef?
I haven't, man.
Baltimore's Chaps Pit beef and Kevlar suit.
That's what's down. I haven't, though.
Little travel tips from Carl.
The more you know. What's the one city when you're traveling with the band that you can't wait because the food's so damn good?
I'm not trying to kiss ass here because I'm in New York, but I got to say New York is the thing about New York, and I'm an outsider. So I say this as I've spent a lot of time here, but I am not a resident, so I have to put that out there because I know New Yorkers will get fucking pissed if I don't, and I start talking about the food and sound like I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you can't have a restaurant in this joint for very long if it sucks.
Right.
So as long as something's been open for a little while, it's like, well, it's been here 10 years. Well, it's doing something.
Yep.
You know, now I have had some shit here that's been bad, but I was just talking to the folks from the label, and we're talking about sandwiches, and I was just like, I've never had a bad sandwich in this town.
Right.
Nothing. I'm like, I've never had corned beef in this town that hasn't been like the shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Pastrami.
Even the stuff, even when you go to the bigger name stuff, where usually you go to a town, it's like it's kind of been, it's got a reputation, but it's kind of become touristy and it's kind of lost some of maybe what made it famous. Like, man, I don't know. I went to Katz's and I thought it was really good. You know,
Delicious.
I mean,
No, it's damn
I
good.
enjoyed the shit out of it.
absolutely.
Even
Are you kidding me?
Applebee's.
So I mean, it's
Even the Applebee's.
Even
is
the
good here?
Applebee's, I'm like, damn, those rib tips are.
you can't miss.
He and I-
You can't miss.
We passed one of the
What's
oldest.
my man's burger joint over here? We got to get to try
Black
it.
Tap.
Oh, Black Tap is
Black
in
Tap, yeah.
studio today.
Russ
too.
and Daughters. We passed. I was showing him this one of the first. Everything in America in the early days was and Sons.
Yeah.
So Russ and Daughters is one of the first. Might have been the first one in America
Is
that
that
was
the-
something and Daughters, and it's over here
Is that on
Houston.
Houston?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
I just went past that the
Get
other
the
day.
Super Heeb.
Really?
Super, yeah.
No
It's
way.
named that.
The Super Heeb
That's
is
the
the
Super Heeb. Thank you.
I think that's the guy who fired us.
The Super Heeb.
No, Opie, no.
Come on, I went for it. Come on.
Jesus. Come on. The Burning Cross Hour with Opie.
Hey, I got the right accent.
Grand Wizard,
Vote
Opie
for
Hughes.
Roy Moore. Vote for Roy Moore.
Oh, we're in New York. We could say that, right?
I've been doing it on stage
All right,
for
good.
5 months.
All right. The one thing about food, though, Times Square. Have you guys walked through?
You know, I mean, I've been through there. I haven't spent a lot of time there.
Good. You're a
Yeah.
smart man. It sucks.
It's like, I think it's like if whenever you're in a real touristy area of a big city, I think I've found that it's that instant gratification thing. It's
Right.
like you want to, and I grew up on a farm, so I can say this, like, I grew up, there were 4 freaking kids in my class, so I know what it's like to be in the middle of nowhere. So I think some of the appeal is like, I want to see, if you're coming from like an area, it's like, I want to see something that's fucking big and looks like New York, But it's like, that's not, to me, once you spend some time here, that's not what New York is. It's a part of what, it's not what it is to me anyway,
Right.
as a visitor. It's like, to me, and I live out in L.A., which I know is not necessarily the most popular place around here, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of soul in L.A. But if you spend your time on Hollywood and Vine, you're gonna be like, well, this is what L.A. is. I don't like it. Well, that's not what L.A. is, man.
Yeah.
It's not at all. There's a lot of real creative, awesome people out there.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
just like here.
The thing I was going to say about Times Square, so everyone comes to New York to see New York City, and then they spend their whole time in Times Square. They're
Yeah.
not actually seeing this place. And then there's no real food choices in Times Square because it's all chain restaurants, and they got lines out the door.
Here's
the biggest
Fridays I've ever seen.
gives
We
a-
have to go.
The Red
It's
Lobster-
5 stories. We got to go see the biggest Fridays.
So you tell me fucking
No.
people have a problem with the M&M store? That place is awesome.
M&M store.
I like the
I have
M&M.
almost no security. I eat the whole. I go from there to the
Twizzler thing, I'm a mess.
Just a store
I'm
of
shaking
M&Ms.
by the end of the day.
I can't argue that. You're right about that part.
But one thing, I opened a restaurant in Times Square, and it's a necessary evil. It's like the bug light
Sure.
for shitty tourists. Like, imagine all these people. If we didn't have Times Square, they'd be in the
Absolutely.
West Village with their acid wash cut off jeans. And, it's a mess. So it keeps them busy. It keeps the really bad tourists busy.
They're like an idiot's corral.
Right. Everybody robs each other. The fist fights in front of Bubba Gump's.
Bubba gum.
It's great, and they keep all the West Village and stuff with the cool tourists.
I think, it's totally understandable. Like, when I went to L.A. the first time I saw the Hollywood sign, I'll fucking admit it, I was like, holy shit, this is a fucking Hollywood sign.
Right.
I mean, everybody's had that experience. I mean,
I agree.
when you went there the first time, you were like, holy shit, that's the Hollywood sign. You go up to Griffith Park and you look at that and you're like, this is unbelievable. There's something, I like the thing about the Hollywood sign itself that I have always still liked is the idea of so many people looking at that and sticking their dream on it. And that presence is there. Yeah. And now the Hollywood and Vine area and everything, that's more like a touristy area, but I think there's a purpose to those areas. I don't look down on people going there. I just would think, like you're saying, Opie, I think what we're getting at here is there's a lot more to see. And there's a lot more to it. And like, if you really want to get, like, to me, it's like, if I'm in a city, I want to go find where the locals are.
Yeah.
And like, see if I can get in there and survive with these people. You know what I mean?
Well, I was getting at people are stupid.
I heard it's Wisconsin come out though. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I did.
There was almost, y'all got there. Oh gosh, there.
Oh, it
Okay,
will.
there.
Just get me say Wisconsin and you'll know.
So you guys tour so much. What's the one city where you do fall into the tourist trap? I'll say mine as you think about it. San Francisco.
Oh, sure.
I went full blown tours there.
I would
Alcatraz.
I'd agree
had to
with
go
that.
across the Golden Gate. Had to go to Coit Tower. Had to go to
Fisherman's Wharf.
everything.
I mean, when we went overseas, first time I was in Paris, that was like,
Oh shit.
you got to go to you're going to the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
going to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I respect
There's-
that.
But you know that the Eiffel Tower there's nothing. I imagine if you talk to someone from Paris, they'd be like, the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe I'm just like the cats in Times Square because I walked over there, I was like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
Man. I was blown away by it.
Where'd you
With
guys
that-
play
with
over
that-
there? Sorry.
With that said, sorry, Vic. Lived in New York more or less all my life, except for the radio thing. Living in other cities. Never been to the Statue of Liberty, and never been to
there
the
either.
Empire State Building to the top.
I have been there.
You're awful. You're
I-
a horrible human being.
He also hasn't been down the street from his apartment. He's never made a left.
I think that's true, Carl.
I was walking with him before. He's like, look at that building. I'm like, that's your house, dude.
I was standing out in front of his house. I'm like, oh my God, you live here?
Oh, he's still overwhelmed by stuff because he doesn't go out a lot. So it's like a little newborn baby. He's like, it's cloudy.
When you were in Paris, did you see Jim Morrison's grave?
I did, man.
How is that?
That was quite a place, man, because it had Jim Morrison and
Yeah, other people. There's a million other people.
Yeah, like Chopin and Emerson.
Yep.
That's really crazy.
Right.
You know what? It's weird, man. My dad's a big Doors fan,
Right on.
and big rock and roll fan, and I got fucking bummed out.
Right.
Like this guy died a long time ago, and it bummed me out. I was totally. I was not expecting that.
Right.
And I'm just like a lot of other people that grew up in a rural scenario. I mean, I'm closed off from my emotions, know.
Right.
So when they suddenly creep up on me outside of a musical context, it surprised the shit out of me. Like I got really freaking bummed out, and it's funny because you're thinking, how is that going to happen? This guy died way before I was born,
Right.
and just the idea of it.
Right.
And I'm not trying to bring the whole scene down. Everybody looks
No,
like
this is the good
Look at
stuff.
how
No,
sad
no.
everybody
No, I
is.
was
Not
gonna
good
say,
stuff.
I've been there, man.
It bums you out, man.
Continue like a candy or something, or a chip, or like when New Coke came out and then it went away. It's fucking devastating.
Oh, it's complete.
Continue. I'm sorry.
But no, but it did. It bummed me out. I mean, I don't know if it's the idea of being that young and then
Right.
and having it all and just kind of, or it's just the romance of. I mean, man, Paris is. There's something different about that place. If you had to ask me what one of my favorite places in the world is, I would say Madrid in Spain, Czech Republic, Prague. It's cheap as shit, by the way. If you ever want to go over and have an amazing experience in Europe and not spend a lot of cash, Prague is awesome. They still are on their own currency, so it's really good, and it's got a lot of old buildings and cool shit. But Paris, man. Paris has got something, man.
Yeah.
It is magical, man. It's got some romance over there. And I'm not really that big of a deal on that stuff, but it freaked me out. I was really moved by that city.
Well, getting back to the Morrison thing, I think it always bums me out when someone dies that's so creative, that's
Right.
so young, because you sit there going, what a waste. He had so much more to do.
Yeah, man. And
Even though he was a bloated mess and he didn't take care of himself.
Yeah,
No
But,
One
I
Here
mean,
Gets Out Alive is one of the greatest rock books ever.
He's literally talking about.
If you read the book,
I
the
didn't mean to
book.
look at you, Carl.
yeah.
It's a great book.
out.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story. It's totally,
Yeah.
On a Doors live record, his scream at the beginning of Backdoor Man, and
Yes.
if you're listening and you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Doors live. It goes straight from Backdoor Man into Whiskey Bar. That's when you know you've got the right version. You can't miss it. The yell he does at the beginning of that, it's insane.
Absolutely.
And-
Comes
and
from
I'm-
a deep, dark place.
Yeah.
Right?
He Jagger is definitely and to me one of the greatest frontmen of all time, no question. The Stones are probably if I had to pick one band, they're my band. I love the Stones. I'm a big Stones guy. Jagger brought all that showmanship and he learned it watching that James Brown and that Tammy show. You know, he kind of figured it out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Morrison, that's where like Ozzy Osbourne, heavy metal comes out of Jim Morrison, man. In my mind, like the dark, like there is no, Dio without Morrison.
Right.
There's no, it's like you needed that guy.
A lot of guys won't turn their back to the audience and sing.
Yeah.
And he would start the show not facing the crowd for 30, 40 minutes sometimes.
And I can't remember, was that truly because he was freaked out, or was that?
Supposedly that was the story.
Yeah.
That he had a little bit of a stage fright kind of thing. And then it turned into this mythical, cool, like no frontman had ever turned their goddamn back. You're not a frontman if your back's facing the crowd. So
I love the Doors for their bluesy stuff that, being a radio guy, the stuff that we didn't play, like 5 to 1, Backdoor Man, they didn't really play a lot, Waiting for the Sun. That's the stuff.
he said Alabama song, Whiskey
Alabama Song is one of my favorite. Peace Frog.
Yeah, that's the name of the tune. My apologies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from Alabama. I'm qualified.
And you can't really fake that blues shit. You can't.
No,
really fake
hell
it.
no.
That leads to you guys, the record company. You guys you're not faking it. Do you guys do any Doors songs in your set?
Never have done a Doors song. Mostly because I just have too much fucking. I don't know. How can you? If I'm going to sing somebody's song, it's going to be a voice that's completely different than mine.
Right.
That way, when I interpret it, it's not like you can compare. It's apples and oranges.
You got covers in the set? Are there?
Well, yeah, sometimes? Like we do some weird shit. Like we did a Beastie Boys cover. We did
Which one?
What You Want.
What You Want.
Oh, that's
But we do it like really swampy and like totally different. I don't even know if you can tell what it is until we get to the guitar riff. You
can't. And the first time I heard it, and when it finally got the big reveal or whatever, I was like, oh damn! You got to go to YouTube after this and check it out.
Sweet.
It's amazing.
No, totally.
That's why I was asking you about the Doors, because I think if you guys did the Doors, you would do it in such a unique way like that.
I would love to. I have such reverence for that guy's voice that I'm afraid to. It's like a guy in my register isn't going to improve on that or do it. And, it's like somebody in a different register, like if you had like a girl do it, or if you had a guy with a higher voice or a totally different sounding voice, you could probably see something in the song that wasn't there. Yeah. It's kind of like, but my voice is low. And so it's going to be in the same register. And in my opinion, it's just like, it already was nailed it this way. Mm-hmm. And if anything I'm going to do to it is kind of going to, it's the same reason why I would never cover, a Muddy Waters song.
Oh, geez.
You can't sing I can't sing a Muddy Waters song.
Right.
I can do it in the privacy of my home, and I've done it. We've tried, and all I ever walk away with is, man, I should probably stop doing that.
Do the other guys agree with you? Have you all sort of looked at each other and thought the same thing you just said?
No, I don't think we've ever talked about it. I just really love singers. Like, I would never want to do a Ray Charles song. Ray Charles, what are you going to do?
Right.
Covering Elton John, even. That's a whole nother side of the spectrum. But, like, especially the 70s Elton John, man.
Yeah.
How are you going to... You can't
beat
sing
that.
Tiny Dance. I can't sing Tiny Dance. Or maybe a guy like Chris Stapleton could pull it off because he's just an ace card singer. But, I don't know. I'm kind of going around a block. But, so my answer to you, Opie, is just, no, I wouldn't do Jim Morrison because... I just have too much respect for the way he did it, and I don't think where I'm at with my abilities could add to the song.
Yeah, right.
And if you can't add or take it to a different place, you're just what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean?
I got you.
You know what I mean?
What were the influences growing up?
Everything, man. I mean, Grandpa Don, who passed away about 2 years ago, great, farmed till the day he died. They told him he couldn't, he wasn't going to be able to work anymore, and he died 2 weeks later.
No kidding.
Yeah. And 92. I mean, he's the man. He was the man.
Complete opposite. You tell me I don't have to work. I would live forever.
You lived to 108.
I'd be 600 years old. Extreme couponing in my basement.
I think if you really love what you do, and then you can't do it anymore, that breaks your heart.
Sure does, man. But he liked Waylon Willie, the American Songbook shit, like like
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, Johnny Cash. And then my mom's side of the family, my grandpa Joe was Italian, and he loved Nat King Cole, those crooners, Sinatra. It took me a little longer to understand how cool that was, to be honest, because now I get it big time. But then and then Patsy Cline, that was his favorite singer. It's one of my favorite singers. Dad was the rock and roller.
Yeah.
Dad liked the Stones, the Who, Hendrix, Zeppelin, the Boss, ZZ Top. Ma liked Motown. Ma was a Motown.
That's a nice mix,
combo, right? That's
So I had it hitting on all sides, and so when I got into music, it was funny because my buddies, when I went to high school, there was a lot of stuff. I had kind of listened to a lot of this kind of stuff already. And when you get hit that 16, 17, that's when you're, at least in my generation, when it was like, you were like, okay, well, you're into bands like, well, I don't know, Nine Inch Nails or something. And then all of a sudden, your buddy's like, hey, man, have you checked out Hendrix Band of Gypsies yet? And it's like, I was like, yes, I have.
That's cool.
My mind is going through them changes.
Yes.
It had not one of the best live records of all time.
I agree, yes.
I think.
Hands down, no, you're right.
Can I ask a question here?
You could, yes.
Vic,
oh, my
Vic,
God.
you seem like a man that's had a lot of time to think about things through all your travels. What are your top 5 live albums?
Ooh.
Vic literally has a music boner.
Well, now you said
I'm so excited to answer this
you
question.
mentioned the Doors of Life She Cried is amazing.
That's got to be up there.
It's got to be up there. Zeppelin, the live concert, the movie, The Song Remains the Same. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hendrix.
Yep.
The band that you can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong.
I'm trying to think of who else.
You like the Pompeii, live at Pompeii?
Yes.
Floyd?
Ooh, nice.
I'll help you out.
What about
I like Live at Winterland.
Oh, yeah.
If I used to tell people forever that no problem in your life is ever so dramatic that if you sit down and put on Live at Winterland, the power of the music will beat the shit out of whatever problem you have in your life right out of you. You're literally like the old guy in the Maxell cassette tape blown back in the chair.
I got one for you that if you haven't checked it out, you should.
Tell me.
Muddy Waters live at Newport 1960.
Ooh.
Go listen.
I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah, I think I got to
It's
check
the
that
shit,
out.
man.
What about Frampton Comes Alive?
I like Frampton Comes Alive. Nothing wrong with that.
It's not too bad.
It was all right.
Not too bad.
It was okay.
Think
I
anybody
liked
picked up
Rattle and Hum. You
What?
two's
Oh,
live
yeah,
album.
man. Rattling.
Puffy Live.
Puff Daddy, just regular. Not
Puff
live.
Daddy. We're talking
Yeah.
live, Carl.
Oh,
Puffy
it's my
Live?
fault. I'm out.
It's when I was growing up, my dad just missed the Beatles, so he was all into the crooners. So you brought back a memory there, and then I'm just
What was he into?
Perry Como.
Was he like
Martin?
Mario Lanza? Was he into that
He
shit?
had all of them.
Oh, man.
Frank's. I don't even know that name to be
Tony
honest with you.
Bennett.
That's
Mario
it.
Lanza? You don't know who that is?
No, I really don't.
Seriously.
I don't.
Come on.
Sinatra, obviously. Who was the other guy that was close to Sinatra?
You should be slapped right now.
I don't.
got
What
it.
did he sing? What did he sing?
A million. It was one
Give
of
me
the
one.
Before. Well, I don't know any songs. I just know before Sinatra there was Mario Lanza. He had a movie career.
Right.
He was so good.
It's like that Perry. You know what? We were talking about documentaries, Opie.
Yes, we
You know
were.
what I just watched that was really good? I watched the Bob Hope documentary.
There's a Bob Hope documentary.
It's 2 hours. It's fucking great.
Where is it on
Opies,
Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
We were talking before we started recording. Chris Vos from the record company, by the way. I should reset a little bit.
No worries.
He's a big documentary guy, and he saw the Andre the Giant.
Oh, man.
Did you see the Elvis the Searcher?
No.
It's 2 parts on HBO. It's two
Oh, yeah,
hour.
man. I saw the back half of
Yeah.
it. I still got to go back.
It's pretty
and see-
good.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
I mean, you forget how powerful that comeback special was in '68 and all that
Yeah.
footage of everything. But it's really good.
Some of Elvis's live stuff's pretty good.
Oh yeah,
Pretty damn
Oh,
good.
live. What's Aloha from Hawaii?
Right. Yeah.
that was the Planet
We put that
event
on
of
every
the year at the
Thanksgiving,
time.
man.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's a tradition.
What's your favorite documentary of all time, or one of your top 5s?
Man, that's real tough. I really love documentaries. It depends on what. The biggest surprise, like that introduced me to a whole different thing in music, was that Buena Vista Social Club.
Oh, that's awesome.
That whole
Yep.
Cuban sound music phenomenon. That was kind of that's probably about a 15-year-old thing.
You're right.
Now. Yeah, that was really cool. But like, man, that Giant one. Just because I just saw it, the Andre the Giant one's really great. That anything that Ken Burns, that's Ken Burns
Yes.
Civil War or Ken Burns baseball.
Yes.
The national parks.
I haven't seen that one
It's
yet.
amazing.
Vietnam. The Vietnam.
I haven't
one.
seen
Oh
that
my
one
God, that
yet.
was the most recent. Yeah,
That was
crazy.
I haven't
thing.
seen that one yet.
But Andre the Giant, we were talking about this on a past
Yeah.
podcast.
So good.
How he was so big he couldn't get into the airplane bathrooms, and he had those long trips to Japan.
Yeah.
So they had to break out a bucket and then hold up like a shower curtain, and I guess what would be first class. So Andre the Giant could look at he's giving me a look. So Andre the Giant could take a dump.
Yeah, I can use the bathroom. Good Lord. And can you imagine that? That's the thing about that guy that's so crazy that they get to in that documentary is like, the fact that he made so much of himself was such a thing happening that really at the time when he came up was fucked up to have happen. Like nobody knew what it was, what to do about it. And instead of him being like they talk about how his ma was all like, he's going to die.
Right.
And he like goes and he figures out how to make himself not only like successful, but a household name across the world.
Yes.
Right. That's and says almost nothing. Very quiet man.
Right.
And like, the reverence, like that was the thing that really blew my mind was the reverence for him shown by all the people around it. And that my dad liked wrestling. My grandpa Don, God rest his soul, he loved wrestling. And they came up when, it was regional wrestling.
Yeah, sure.
Like the AWA, I think, was what was in Wisconsin.
It was like
Vern Gagne and the Crusher and shit like that, or whatever.
They had territories, and they all compete against each other.
Yeah, and
we had the Southern angle with Mr. Wrestling #1 and Mr. Wrestling #2.
That's
funny.
Two masked
Yeah,
guys.
what division would, because they get in it.
I know Gordon Soley was the announcer down south, and I forgot what it was
They
called.
were all regions.
They were all out of Atlanta, yes. And then there was the Memphis angle that had Jerry the King Lawler and all those guys.
Yeah.
And we got Tommy Wildfire Rich, and Ric Flair, of course, the Nature Boy, Superfly Snuka, Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
That's a nice regional.
I used to. It was pretty. I worked for the city, and one of the few times I was being a smartass, and they were coming in to wrestle, and whenever we would have the matches in our town, my friends and I all worked for the city, and we would look at all these people going, we've lived here our entire lives. We've never seen any of these people ever. Where are they coming in from to watch this?
Oh, right on.
And then Ted DiBiase and the guy, and
Ted DiBiase.
I try to, my friends and I, we were ticket takers, and we'd make fun of them, like, who's going to win tonight? And they're like, we don't know, we're going to find out. We're like, who's going to win. And then they would get mad and like chase us and scare the shit out of us.
Back in the day, that was a cardinal sin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They were not having it at all.
But the Giant, the thing about him, what I like, I always like Gene Okerlund.
Oh, sure.
Gene.
I
big enough fan back in the day that my dad and I, man, I like have gone on YouTube and watched Gene Okerlund interviews just because they make me laugh.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're hilarious.
It's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, he could play the role at if you got Abbott and Costello, you got the funny guy and you got the straight man.
Straight man, right.
Yeah, he played that straight man like ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? Did you grow up with wrestling?
Oh yeah, it was Bruno Sammartino that has passed. I'm trying to think of all my guys. Ivan Putski, the
Clawmaster,
the Polish Hammer. It was
Polish
his move.
Power,
and then of course Hulk Hogan, which brings us back to the Andre the Giant documentary.
Right.
I didn't realize how hurt Andre the Giant was, and he was still performing.
He
could barely fucking move. They were saying in this documentary.
That WrestleMania, they bring him to the ring in a little ring.
Yeah, because he can't walk anymore.
That's like fucked
up. I know.
That's crazy.
All of it.
I used to love wrestling, and then I saw a female breast. And that was it. I wrapped up the whole thing.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I saw it.
That changed it all.
Changed it all.
That's like the Wizard of Oz when they went from black and white to color.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was your moment.
Changed.
Everything changed for
I got
good.
some Brute 33. Put it on.
Brute. I had a theory about Old Spice. That it had been so far removed from the public consciousness when I was going to high school that it's back in but that when they had just the stick with the white original, every girl I dated back in high school would be like, hey, you smell real nice. It had been so long since anybody had smelled Old Spice that they actually didn't realize Old Spice is the shit.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like our podcast.
I'm kind of wondering if they're like Brute by Fabergé, if you just split, isn't that what it was?
Yes. Karate.
I actually wear Brute 33.
You do?
I do.
You can still find that shit?
Yeah, it's in every CVS. They have it. It's on the bottom.
Is it in a plastic
dusty.
bottle?
It's always dusty.
It's dusty?
But it was funny.
How's your dating card these days?
I was wearing it, and it picks up a certain type of girl. You know what I mean?
Dare I ask?
Yeah. Maybe you should go to the vet after, get checked out.
Jesus Christ. I bet it's, Brute. That shit,
Brute's
man.
awesome.
How many years does one of them bottles last?
It's mint still. I mean, I've used mine.
It's like you've had one since 1982, bro.
Dude, and they haven't changed like the packaging or anything. It's fantastic. And that smells great. And it's only like a nickel. And you smell awesome.
It's wonderful.
Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. boo 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 boo.